Hi, I'm Dee McNair, your co-host on the air for In Bold Print with
Tamoji, the empowerment specialist.
Welcome to In Bold Print, where we discuss what's relevant, hot,
And trending
by examining the fine print. Welcome to the show.
Yes, so glad to be here.
I am excited because there's some great topics to discuss today. It's some hot stuff to discuss today. I don't know about trending, because some of this I hope it doesn't happen again.
Right.
You know, and I just feel we have to go and throw it out there. We're not going to get deep about it.
Okay.
But we have to talk about what's going on in Paris. We do. And what's going on in Paris is what we don't want to go on here in the U.S. We don't want it to go on in Paris and anywhere else.
That's right.
So our hearts and our thoughts are out with all of those who are affected, those who are not affected, but who, like us, can empathize and sympathize with what's going on in Paris. We're thinking of you, and we know deliverance is on the way.
Amen. I received that.
Amen. Deliverance is on the way.
We've only been on set for 5 minutes, and we already having church.
You know, a revival is what's needed. Some of the topics we're going to talk about today, revival is what's needed.
Absolutely.
It's plain and simple. It's nothing, you know, what is it, rocket science or something they say?
It's not rocket science.
It's not rocket science.
Right.
It is plain and simple common sense. If you shoot, likely you and the person you're shooting might die. If you throw a grenade, likely you and the person who's surrounded by that area might die. It doesn't take a whole lot of thought to figure that out. It really doesn't. It really doesn't.
Senseless violence is what it is.
But now tell me, so what is it that you got yummy that you feel like we've got to talk about? Because, you know, I've got some little things that I've already, you know, had my little antenna going up. So I want to know, what is it that you think we should talk about?
What's yummy? I don't know what's exactly yummy this evening.
Yummy to me is things that are of a positive nature today and tomorrow. Today and tomorrow. And you know I love my community work, so those of you all out there who are doing community work, I applaud you, you, yay, because it's well appreciated. Even if you don't hear it very often, I can honestly tell you it is appreciated.
Absolutely.
But Dean Smith's wife,
yes,
that's why I said it's yummy. It's
it
yummy,
is yummy
because it involves so many people that it's going to be a blessing to. But in addition, it gives people an opportunity to be a blessing, and she's been a blessing herself, which I think Dean Smith wanted in his legacy, you know, to be remembered as doing so much for so many. And she is actually launching the first dementia initiative here in North Carolina, is my understanding, but launching it out of Orange County, almost $1 million.
Yes, I saw that.
Almost $1 million. And I think it's, you know, something that has been needed, but it took a man and a woman, such as Dean Smith and his wife, in the past and in the present and in the future. That's why it's so yummy.
Yes.
Dean Smith did a lot of great things in the past.
That will live on.
That will live on.
Wonderful legacy, that's right.
He and his wife did great things in the present prior to his passing. She's doing great things today by launching this initiative, but the future will be positively impacted by it. And you just say, good. Something good is going to happen to you, but something good is happening right now. That's why I said yummy.
Well, per your definition, it's definitely yummy. Anytime someone can take their pain and turn it into power, positive power, I think that's yummy.
It is.
You know, because I'm a firm believer that when we go through things, Dee, it's not really for us. It's for us to learn a lesson.
So true.
And for us to gain a tool. And then for us to be able to say to our brother or our sister, I've been there, I've done that, God brought me out, and you're coming out too.
And I'm going to help you come out.
Yes, because
I
know how to get out.
Yes.
Yes, so it's not like we're lost in a maze together.
And we don't have a map. Neither one of us can read the map we have.
Right.
We are, matter of fact, you're not even in a maze. You're on a highway, and I know which exit you need to get off on.
That's right. That's power. So she has turned her pain into power. And in that, I'm sure she's probably found a new purpose or either reconnected to the purpose that was probably always inside of her. But through this, she's now able to live it out and in full. And I think that's exciting.
Well, and that's why I was laughing at my own self inside, thinking about yummy. And yummy basically to me is something that you want to eat up. And it isn't always food. I love to learn. I love to read.
Yes.
And we've heard the phrase knowledge is power. So yummy to me is it's just something I wanted to eat up. And when I read the little bit I was able to read about it, I wanted to know more about it. So I wanted to eat it up. I wanted to have some more and some more, a second helping and a third helping. And
Yes.
so, you know, for me, I think I will be watching this, seeing who supports this initiative outside of the original, you know, contributors to it as well.
Okay.
And I hope it's going to grow big and grow fast. And I know it's going to be solid.
Well, I think so, and I think that these are the positive things that celebrity and notoriety are able to do when you have a name that people know and recognize, especially in a positive regard. It's one of those things that you're able to do, and when you do it properly and you're blessing other people through it, I think that's using your celebrity and using your fame in a way that brings glory to God as far as I'm concerned, because who said it had to be you? I think God decided that it's going to be you, and this now is starting to unfold how we leave a legacy. No matter what we go through, it's not always based on, you know, championships and win, but even through pain, leaving a legacy that can help others, and that's exciting. That's
And I think for her
yummy.
now, she's moved beyond her pain. But that was my relevant. I think it's very relevant. North Carolina, like many other states, have mental illness at the forefront, and it's not enough care or providers nationwide. It is not just a North Carolina thing. It's not just a Triangle thing. It's nationwide. And so, you know, just seeing mental illness, not so much as what she's focusing on, but dementia, which many think is a mental illness, in the sense that we need more information about mental illness. We need more information about dementia. Matter of fact, Alzheimer's. So many people think Alzheimer's and dementia are the exact same things, and they're not. And people at all ages can have dementia for various reasons, but I'm not going to get deep into that. I just thought it was yummy.
When she starts with medical terminology, that's her field,
I
ladies
just thought
and
it was
gentlemen.
yummy that
You know,
she's doing almost $1 million. And I think this is going to be launched sometime this month. But either way, all you have to do, Chapel Hill residents, Carrboro residents, Durham residents too, keep watching for more information on how you can be a part of this initiative. It's something that's good for our state, good for our community.
yes.
Yes,
So that was yummy.
yes. Now what is, what's the word? Tantalizing.
Ooh.
Tantalizing.
Well.
Like that's a big word. It's a very basic word, but I thought I'd say it anyway. Tamoji, tantalizing are the two T's. I said yummy. D likes yummy things. You know, I'm just throwing out all these adjectives today.
Well, you know, you brought something to my attention happening over at, was it Central? North Carolina Central?
Oh, yes.
Let's talk about it.
That's going to be tantalizing. I don't have all the details, so
Okay.
if you are a professor, an administrator at North Carolina Central University, we'd love for you to hit us up. Make sure you hang in there to the end of the show. You'll see how to contact us because we want to hear more specifics about this. But NCCU in Durham is implementing a plan that will make it mandatory, basically, for their freshmen and sophomores to be on campus.
You know I like that, right?
Right. Well, I think I could be wrong, but listeners, you can help us out. Most universities require freshmen
Yes.
to be on campus, but we all know North Carolina Central University a few years ago, quite a few years ago, had a big shortage of rooms. And I remember that. There were students they were putting up in various ways trying to accommodate the freshman students. They did not have enough room.
Look at
They
that.
renovated dorms, they got more space, they did some restructuring, and they were able to accommodate the freshman students they have and additional. But now, how are you going to tell a parent who lives 25, 30 minutes down the road that part of your requirement is that they be on campus? And so a tidbit I started to read was something about if you're within 15 minutes of the campus, you know, there are different requirements. But this is something I think all parents and students want to be watching.
Well, let me say this. I do believe if you live locally, and again, I'm not sure what the radius or the minutes were or the miles, but if you live locally, you can still live at home. But you know, you have a lot of students who come across the state or come out of state, and they're at college, they left their mama and daddy at home.
They left their common sense at home.
And I didn't say that.
I did.
But they want to live on their own now. And as soon as they get an opportunity to get their own apartment and their own place, they want to take advantage of that. I think it's good because, you know, when you look, as an educator, when you look at those predictors of success, being on campus is actually one of those things that we see great statistics on those students who persist semester to semester, and we are able to retain those students who are on campus. Because literally, I think what happens from like just a psychological standpoint, they're on their own. So
Big time. Hungry
Yes.
on their own.
Yes.
Never seen a college kid that isn't hungry.
They're on their own, and they feel as if they've crossed into complete adulthood.
Whoopee!
Well, remember now.
We all know that
that's
they
what-
haven't yet, but
Right.
some do though. Now some do.
Some do, but they feel like, you know, now I'm really on my own. I have an apartment to live in. I'm not going back on campus, having to adhere to the rules of the campus, and so I'm on my own. And I think that that's kind of overrated. I say
time.
enjoy those first couple of years because there are many things that, you know, I looked at some statistics here and I'll share those with you. The research shows that when they stay on campus, there are benefits. I went to a small private liberal arts women's college. Being on campus allowed us to be literally at every event. It wasn't an issue of, do I have time to get back to campus? Do I have gas money to get back?
Ooh.
To get back to campus, and whenever something was going on, even if I didn't know about it, once I heard this is happening, oh, all I'd have to do is freshen up and walk across campus to participate.
Be more involved.
Yes,
Be
absolutely.
engaged. Be more involved. And I like the part about gas money because I remember that everybody's putting their pennies together to get some gas money to go somewhere.
Ooh, when I was in college, gas was a whole lot less than.
Let's not tell
it
your
is now.
age.
I'm not going to tell.
I'm
but
not vain about mine, but I know she doesn't want to tell her.
That gas was way under $1 a gallon. I'm gonna tell you that.
Well, and I will say that it was substantially under $1 that I can recall. So I know what you mean. I'll leave it at that. I know what you mean.
Yeah, my dad, I was allowed to have $30 a week on my gas card.
She was big money, big money. I
Y'all
would
see
like
my
to talk
face?
to anyone from the late 1970s who was given
see my
$30
face?
a week for
Did she
got
say
money.
70s? That I was in I was not
I'm not
in
referring to
college.
you. I'm referring to
Oh.
those of us who were. Okay. Yeah, $30.
Yes, I was allowed $30 a week to fill up my gas tank.
I don't even need $30 in one of my economy cars today to go a week.
I drive an SUV. Yes,
Bougie,
it's a
bougie,
gas guzzler, but
bougie.
I like it.
You weren't driving an SUV
Yes, I was.
that many years ago.
Yes, I was. I was driving a
Oh.
Chevy Blazer when I was in college. So yes.
A Chevy Blazer.
I
How many
didn't
of us
say a
had the
large
car
SUV.
that you could only get in one door, or the window wouldn't roll up or down without some assistance?
Wait, is she going there, ladies and gentlemen?
Yes, I am.
With a smile.
Yes.
And I told her how pretty she looked in pink today, but you see how she's acting, right?
Well, it's not a negative. I'm just saying for me, I wasn't afforded that, but thank goodness I was afforded what I had. And I think it's a great opportunity for us to respect and appreciate that if we are diligent and faithful in a few things, we will be given the opportunity to be manager over much. You were clearly faithful in many things. And so you got $30 a week for her gas and her gas guzzler, her Chevy Blazer. Now, we all know she was hauling some more people around and probably hitting them up, telling them, you're going to pay for this gas.
Well,
Yeah,
here's
we
the
know.
deal. After the $30, he said, it's on you. You know, he knew. You have your friends. Y'all are riding around. That was when. I went to Bennett College in Greensboro. A&T is right across the tracks.
Yes, it
and
is.
they used to have a strip, and we could cruise down the strip, and you could go around in circles all night
We know
long.
what she was doing.
You could go around
we know
in
what
circles.
She was doing. We know what she was doing. Oh,
But I lived on campus. And so even though I drove across the street to North Carolina A&T State University from Bennett College, we would just drive in circles and cruise down the strip, and people would be standing outside on both sides of A&T,
Oh, my goodness.
and the cars would just ride by, and you'd go around in circles over and over again. And then remember that song, Cars Ride By with the Booming System?
No, I don't. And honestly, I don't.
Okay.
But I have
was by
no
LL Cool J.
shame that I was amongst the nerdy group and I enjoyed it thoroughly.
Oh,
A book
the nerds
somehow-
were on the strip too.
And for me, this nerd was somewhere with the book, or I was the designated driver. And there is nothing wrong with designated drivers. By the way, if you have not utilized a designated driver, but you are one who chooses to drink, don't drink and drive. May I strongly say, live another day. Get a designated driver.
Back
My
to
little
living,
PSA.
back to living on campus.
Yes.
Those who lived on campus could just walk out to the strip.
And get hit by a car because they had one too many as well. So walk with a designated
Where
walker.
is her mind at today, ladies and gentlemen?
You were talking about cruising the strip, and I'm thinking, that don't sound like it was always innocent. I believe it was innocent a large
Car
portion of the
after
time.
car after car, people standing outside on a nice warm day. Oh, it was amazing.
Let's get back to this North Carolina Central thing.
Yes.
So you agree, though? I do. I think it's a good thing, particularly for out-of-state students, particularly for students that now that they're out from under mom and dad's little thumb, they're so excited. They can have fun, they can grow, they can mature, but they can have a little structure that keeps them hopefully a little bit safer. So I do think it's a good thing.
Absolutely, and I think again, it just builds the community. When you are on campus and you're in the dorms, you know, you build a community. These are your brothers and your sisters. You can study together. When the weather gets bad, you only have to walk across campus to class and not have to worry about getting a car clean,
Amen.
warming it up, driving across town. The safety, is campus closed today or is it open? So yeah, live on campus. Keep those youngins on campus for a little while. And let's see, I would like to see in a couple years some comparative data to find out if we see increased graduation rates of those students. That's what I would like to see.
And good point. Now, talking about North Carolina Central, I know you had kind of been hinting or going there about the UNC system of colleges. And I know, see, did you see her facial expression? I think that's pretty hot. Yes, I do. I think that's pretty hot. I do. I think it's pretty hot. So let's just go on and delve into it.
Okay.
I know I had hoped
I'm going
to
to
know a
get
little
there.
bit more about it.
I'm going
But
to get there.
I found my little points on it.
I'm
and
gonna
I found
get there.
lots of points on it. So
Okay.
I'm not going to go over all of them. But bottom line, Margaret Spellings. Okay. Remember that name, everybody? Margaret Spellings. Good evening. I want to announce
You see
that
her,
Margaret
right?
Spellings has been named as the president of the UNC system. It is a disturbing new low. I could have done it very squeaky too. I just thought.
Is that
I'd try
her
to-
introduction to the story?
Well, I will say I was not very thrilled about her being named as UNC president, system president either. I didn't like how it was handled. Being a graduate of one of the UNC system schools, very proudly so. Also a graduate of an HBCU, so I'm not knocking either way. Got to throw that out there. Yeah, I thought she came in with too much cloud cover and gray, days over her. And I didn't like some of the printed media responses I saw of her transitioning. I thought she could have handled it differently. And I'm entitled to my opinion, so.
Absolutely. Well, it was a controversial choice. And you have those who don't feel as if, and just to paraphrase and put, because this is not about throwing stones at anyone, but maybe don't feel that she has the heart
Well
for the
put,
position.
Well put, heart.
And I think that's important, especially when we're looking at education. I know that there were a few comments made about those who cannot afford to go to college.
Yes, it was.
And I could not afford to go to college without the student loan debt that I have right now.
Well, that's why my degrees were obtained much later than I desired them to be obtained, all because of affordability. And her comment was quite
I think I have it.
Callous, I
I'm
think.
going
So
to look
if
and
you
see.
want to look for the
I'm
comment,
going to
I
look.
think what was interesting is how she was selected by the Board of Governors. It
Yes.
wasn't an open, transparent process. And I think, I'm surprised by that the Board of Governors would not have made it much more transparent. I am very pleased to have heard that several students in several universities have complained.
Right.
And even I believe some professional educators and faculty have
Faculty and
complained
staff as well.
about this process. Why was it so hush hush, behind closed doors, secretive? You know, it's like this little club got together and decided who they wanted to put in power. I can control her, but she's going to do the things I want her to do. What was the reasoning for that?
Well, I also heard that system-wide, I'm not sure again, I don't have anything in writing, but that there was a survey sent out not too long ago asking faculty and staff in the system, you know, what qualities you would look for in a president. And that was very recent. I don't think it was long enough to analyze that data, though.
Well, one of the things, and here I noticed when I was looking at the article, and this is not, you know, something, this is coming from the News and Observer right here in the Triangle area. So News and Observer said that, you know, they were looking at the salary and they were looking at the support she had and the lack of support she had. And it looks like the support she had is all that was taken into account. And they were people, it says, supportive emails and messages arrived in the inbox of the board chairman that were saying, you know, this is a good selection. And one of them, it was the U.S. Representative George Holden, who's a Republican from Raleigh. And I went, okay, what's wrong with that? But then as you continue to go down, and I encourage everybody to go out, you know how it is, you can Google all of this.
It's a long article, but worth
go
reading.
out and look at who was backing her, who was supporting Spellings, and then go to things like the Daily Tar Heel, the UNC Chapel Hill newspaper, and see what the college students had to say, because in the Daily Tar Heel, a UNC student newspaper, it quoted the students expressing their distress, and I want to read it so that I don't misquote it. So bear with me here. It says, if the board had considered our concerns, which is the protection of students of marginalized identities, they would have made more efforts to choose a presidential candidate who is more in line with what the students' needs and concerns are. This is coming from UNC sophomore Ebony Watkins, who said she was speaking on behalf of an unofficial coalition of concerned students. That's what should have been one of the key qualifiers.
Right.
Does this person have a heart for students? Does this person have a heart for underprivileged students? For North Carolina students? Many North Carolinians are unable to afford the full education of their children or themselves. Male or female, do they have a record of showing that at a time when, I know my alma mater, my alumni school, UNC Chapel Hill, has been faced with so many challenges, you know, and the leadership is doing their best to show that Carolina's doing everything they can to be above board, to be transparent, and to make sure all is in order. But along with that, you've got ECU, who has had their challenges. You've got other universities all across the state who have had their challenges. UNC Charlotte, UNC Greensboro, UNC Wilmington. It's got a reputation as being a party school. It's so important that someone would be in office who could engage the buy-in of the students, understand the background and perspective of the parents, but recognize that innovative, creative, thought-provoking, futuristic, strategic plans, and I know that was complicated, but all of that needs to be on the table and in the mind, but the heart has to come with it, because decisions have to be made with the heart as a precursor to it. And then when you hit that tie where the Board of Governors doesn't agree, the president doesn't agree, students don't agree, it's the heart that can mend that bridge when it gets a broken, you know, piece of wood on it. So I was very displeased.
Yeah, it's all about relationship building. And when we look at, again, at the numbers in the state of North Carolina, and we look at the cost of college, it is quite expensive, even for a household with 2 working parents. And so again, if you don't have a heart for those students who are economically challenged, it's not for us to determine why they're economically challenged, but if they are, and they desire to go to school, and they are admitted into these schools, then we need someone with a heart to serve them, a heart, because when you look at, research on poverty, it takes a heart to end poverty. That's where it starts. It's not a financial donation that someone could make. Poverty is not simply a fiscal problem. It's not just simple economics, but where is the heart for these students? That's my question.
And Spellings, I want you to know everyone should give you a chance, myself included, and I am going to give you that chance. But coming in as president, I was expecting your PR skills to be a lot more sharpened and a lot more poised. And you haven't shown me that. I'm still growing, so I'm sure you're still growing. But quickly, show me, as well as many other students, particularly those of us right here in the Triangle area, that you've got it together and you've got us in mind. Because we are lifelong learners. Many of us are lifelong learners. And we want to know that the same system we went through in undergrad, in master's, maybe now we're thinking about a PhD. Ooh, we want to know that the president of our UNC system is creating an environment that embraces people of diverse backgrounds, cultures, ethnicities, economic backgrounds, and even some of the quirks. There are those people who you might not meet in your daily walk, but they're students too. We want to see that and we want to hear that.
Yes. And I mean, the controversy does go on. There were some issues with some comments that people felt like they were anti-gay that she made. And so again, in this position, PR is extremely important. How you deal with people. And there are times where our personal opinion and our personal constitution, that those things get factored in, but there are times where you have to look at the legality of a thing, you have to look at the structure of a thing, and you have to follow the guidelines that are laid before you. It is not up to any of us to inflict our personal opinion on many issues. And now this is a talk show. We have opinions, but we're not sitting in a leadership position making decisions that are going to affect hundreds of thousands of students.
And she is.
Yes, she is.
At least for now. We know things can change overnight. So I'm not wishing it on her, but we know things can change overnight. So we shall see.
Yes.
We shall see.
And again, I do look forward to seeing, after the feedback that she's received from In Bold Print, as well as other media outlets, the coverage in the newspapers, and those vocal students, faculty, and staff. I'm interested to see how she responds, because that too will speak a lot to her character.
And if you have a strong opinion about it, and the strong opinion is that you'd like to have your opinion heard, hey, please send us an email. Check out the little links there that'll be at the end of the show. You can email us. You can hit us up on all of the social medias. You can follow us on Twitter. There are so many ways you can connect with us. We want to hear, how do you feel about the new president of the UNC system? Good or bad? Neutral maybe. We want to hear, because it's all of our perspectives that need to be valued and appreciated by our president of the UNC system.
Yes.
Now, something good is going on too. I said something good's going to happen to you. For those Durhamites, Carolina Theater is celebrating 90 years.
Wow.
They are one of the few original buildings still standing in Durham.
I've been in there before. I'm not. Do they show concerts as well?
They have had musical concerts. They've had plays. They've had movies. They've had a variety of platforms used on their platform. And I will say they've gotten better and better and better, and they're extremely affordable.
Okay.
So ahead of time, in 2016, it will be the 90th year. So it's just weeks away. Happy, happy, happy birthday, 90th birthday.
Yes.
And let me tell you, Carolina Theater, you look good. Yes, you do. You look
Lettucey.
good.
I think it was Lettucey I went to see.
Okay, and I think she was there.
Yeah, I went to see Lettucey.
I think she was there.
Yes, with my sister friend Stacy. We went to see Lettucey there, and they were bringing in more artists as well. So.
And I'm looking at my notes here. Guess what? This is, I said, one of the few. It says, according to the News and Observer, the Carolina Theater is the last remaining of Durham's original downtown buildings. And it opened originally in February of 1926. All right, that is a long time. Yeah, when you hear the
90
year,
years strong.
26, 1926. I'm trying to think, yeah, because that was after one of my grandmothers was born, but still, that's a long time, and it's the original building. So I will say the Carolina Theater has been maintained and slightly renovated, but it's still true to its original structure and character. And that's
Wow.
pretty,
Yeah.
remarkable considering, well, we hear it all the time. They built things a lot better, it seems, way back when.
Shh, don't tell.
Well, I have no shame. I know my family and I have talked about it many times. You can go buy a house that has nothing but the land cleared. And I say it's a house because you saw the picture of what the house was going to look like. So you go, oh, they're going to build a house there. Oh, it's the beginning of summer. By the end of summer, they have built that house and 9 more houses.
Yeah.
Yet and still,
Watching developments go up, it's amazing. If they're on your route to work or school or anything, you blink,
and
ooh,
boom,
that's-
they're up.
Yeah.
Let it be a homeless shelter. All of a sudden, it's a 1.5-year project.
Well,
That's all I'm saying. Okay.
since you're going there, no, I'm going to join you there. There was a meme on Facebook the other day. And it said, we have a lot of mega churches. Where are the mega homeless shelters? Where are the mega food banks? Where are the mega clothing closets? Where are they? Where are they?
Well, now, in all fairness, I will say that right in Chapel Hill, they offer a free clinic. UNC Chapel Hill offers a free clinic that is staffed by med students and volunteers. In Durham, there is a rescue mission that not only feeds during the holiday season, they feed and house many, not a mega because the money hasn't come through for that, but they do a lot and have been doing a lot, I think, for over 30 years.
Wonderful.
But that isn't the end of it, and it is not meeting all the needs, not because they don't want to, but you hit it. Where are the mega facilities that are needed to get these people off the streets? I mean, neighboring Raleigh was trying to get the homeless out of their downtown area. So where are the mega places to take care of our needy people?
You know, I think sometimes we make it harder than it needs to be. I read an article not too long ago, Dee, about a young lady in school, I want to say middle school, who started a food pantry in her school for hungry
Itchy nose.
kids. And she made sure that it was an anonymous pantry. They're not advertising or anything, word of mouth only. And the students are allowed to go in and get food and take it home if they need it. Because she says she was focused on those who needed the help but were afraid to ask. And this is the heart of a teenager. And she's got full commitment from the administration at her school. I'll find that and share that information. It's a great story. It's an open food pantry.
That's something you got to bring back to In Bold Print. I think that's somebody we need to make sure they're bold and they're out in front and people are knowing about the great things that they're doing. And if you know about great things that are happening in the community, we want to share.
Yeah, send them to us. We'll be glad to bring those things to the table. If you send it to us and say, Tamoji and Dee, this is important to us, and this is what we want to see, and this is what we want to talk about.
No, got to. But we've got more to talk about. I mean,
we have plenty to talk about.
And I know we can't hit it all because, I don't know about you. We both were chatting right before we came on air.
We were.
And we were kind of chatting and going down a list. And Tamoji was reminding me, we can't talk about it all in one episode of In Bold Print. But that tells you how much is going on. There's a lot going on in Bold Print. Are you looking at your newspaper? Beyond the news, don't get me wrong. There's nothing wrong with watching the local news. But reading is good for you. So sometimes when you hear about a story on the news station, on the TV, on the radio, also pick up a magazine, pick up a book, go online, read about it, find out exactly what the fine details are, what the fine print says.
Well, let me tell you why I like reading a story over watching it. When you are reading a story, it is more apparent if the author is trying to lead you to the right or to the left. And I think it makes us more conscious consumers of our media and of our news when we read it.
I agree.
Because there are no bright flashing lights in the background, like when they tell stories. And if they want to pull our hearts into it and they dim the lights and play some piano music in the background. When you are reading a story, it causes you to digest the information and filter it better. I truly believe that.
Oh, and I totally agree. I think that's one of the reasons I like to read and I like to get the details. And I think that's why a lot of times, for those of y'all who wonder, well, what's on those sheets of paper?
Yeah.
We're trying to stick with the facts. We're trying to make sure it isn't just really notes. It's about trying to make sure we're sticking with the facts, because you can embellish anything.
Yes.
It's just like when I was talking about spellings and you said that's supposed to be an introduction. A person who didn't even know who she was could receive that and instantly have a connotation that isn't positive.
That's right.
Versus if I said Spellings has been named as the new president of the UNC system. A totally different tone. But when you're
Yes.
reading it, the only tone that hopefully is implied and added to it is the tone you decipher out of it.
Yes.
Makes you think.
Yes, and
Makes you
even
think.
if you see something that's leading you to the right or to the left, you're able to now say, okay, even the title of that article had something negative in it. So once you begin to read the information, you get to make your own opinion. And then when you look and say, well, they've highlighted all of the negative things that she's done. Now I'm going to be a conscious consumer of media, and I'm
Conscious
going
consumer.
to Google and try to find out some of the positive that she's done in order to make my own opinion of her.
And go to your library. I know this sounds silly. You hear us say, and at least me, you hear me say a lot of times, Google, 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 Google. But I will say this, sometimes you're going to Google and you'll say, oh my gosh, I didn't find a lot of information. If you'll simply go to your library, I've found that I can walk in, give them the topic, and get so much information. And that's one of the things I'm doing with Spellings now. You really haven't heard beyond what the media tells you, one little blurb, one little line, what she did before she got here. Go find out what was she doing. Whose house was she living in and keeping up before she got to North Carolina?
Right. And again, just to honor the many demographics that watch this program, some are going to Google. And so when you Google, look for media outlets that have some credibility.
Yes.
And it doesn't mean that you still don't have to filter the information. However, it does speak to how accurate lots of times some of that information can be versus just, you know, Johnny
Juicy
come
gossip.
lately,
JuicyGossip.com.
who has a
and that, I hope
blog.
that's hypothetical. JuicyGossip.com. I hope, don't you dare. I hope that's hypothetical, but don't pick that. Don't.
You know, but many of us have blogs. You know, social media now and the internet allows us all to have an avenue to share our feelings.
Yes.
And so find a reputable site and still filter.
Yes. Filter. Filter your own words as well. So filters may not have been on everything I said on today's show, but you heard Google. Go research it. Check it out for yourself. And then you can apply your own filter.
Yes, absolutely.
Now, I said juicy gossip. This is not juicy gossip, but I
Where
did
are we
hear
going?
this. I did hear this.
Where are we going with this?
And it's not much details because there aren't much, facts to share. But we have a first grader who is being charged
Ooh, I
with
read
assault
that story.
right here in North Carolina.
Sanford.
Sanford.
And that is the home of my father's people.
Yeah,
You know
that's
how
where the
we
family
say,
is. That's
right?
where the blood
Right,
is.
right. That's where my
My
I have
kinfolk. Yeah, my kinfolk.
from
They down
Sanford.
yonder.
Yes.
My kinfolk. Well, I won't do the news broadcast on that one because I'm not excited about sharing
No.
this little tidbit. I am not thrilled to say a first grader
A first grader.
is being charged with assault.
Gonna pull
and
that up.
they actually were saying that the first grader is going to have to show up in court. It's going to have to show up in court with his mom, and he attacked or assaulted. Man, let me clarify my words.
See
He
what the words
assaulted
were.
his teacher. He came at her supposedly with a pair of scissors. He also was throwing things all around the classroom. And I have to go, why? So, matter of fact, you were saying facts. I think
Yeah, I
you've
pulled
got
it
the
up.
facts.
Here it is. I pulled it up.
They don't give you much details. The
No.
student was restrained and removed from the classroom, authorities said. Juvenile petitions were filed, and authorities did not release the names of the student or the teacher involved, and we truly understand that. What I want to understand is, I need more details. If you're going to share that much, I need to understand.
Right.
What makes a first grader? Because I think you brought up a very good point, too, about point of reference. We don't know if this young person has a contributing factor, whether it be a learning disability, trauma that had occurred that no one's aware of.
Right.
Quite often, children who are abused or molested, not necessarily in the home, so I'm not pointing any fingers.
Right.
We don't know if there were contributing factors, but I still say we are in a world where we are hearing about first graders assaulting a teacher, third graders bringing a gun to school.
But here's what's interesting about this particular story for me, because it was so short. So my question would be, did the teacher press charges? Did the state press charges? Who's pressing charges against a first grader? How old is that? Maybe 9,
7,
8?
7.
Okay.
Don't make me count backwards. We're
7,
on
8,
the air. Don't
somewhere-
make me count
somewhere
backwards.
in
I am
there.
very good at math, but don't make me
But
count backwards.
who decided to press assault charges against the first grader?
Well, that's why I need more details, because I'm assuming it was an aggressive attack. You know, granted, throwing things is not good. I'm not sure if a first grader threw a pair of scissors at me, but it did make contact with me. I might even propose he gets suspended or she gets suspended, but I call me crazy. I'm not sure I'd call the police.
Excuse me, ladies and gentlemen. If a first grader came after me like Chucky with the scissors in his or her hand like this, I'm not pressing charges. Because
don't you say it. We're on the air. Don't you say it. Don't you say it.
I recognize that in order for a child that young to show such a display of violence and disdain, that there is something deeper inside. And what good is going to come from a first grader having to go to court over scissors? So again, the child could have went, I'm not pressing charges.
I will say I need to know more. I don't think I would have quickly pressed charges. Don't know if it was a case that a child maybe ran out of the classroom and was telling, you know, a teacher or someone else, you know, come quick, you know, ABC has got a pair of scissors, or they're going to hurt the teacher trying to kill it. We don't know, but I will say a prime example of why you were saying too, go to a reputable source. This was a reputable source, but still, you didn't get many details.
Right.
So if you are in the Triangle area right now, you need to go and Google that.
Because Sanford is what, about 30 minutes from?
Well, from my home a lot further,
From here.
but it's about 30 minutes, 45 minutes from the studio in traffic.
So this is really at home, and we should be concerned about this. Again, what's interesting, assault charges against the teacher, not against another child in the room, because I know we're going to have those parents calling in to say, oh, if my child was in that room, what if my child was hurt? You know, and I understand that, but I think we do need more details. But what this story leads us into is what we call the school to prison pipeline. And I'm not sure if you are familiar with that terminology, but I'm going to share a few statistics with you. The school to prison pipeline, 40% of students expelled from U.S. schools each year are black. And again, this story did not tell us the race or ethnicity of the student, so in no way, shape, or form are we trying to lead you in any direction. 70% of students involved in school arrests or referred to law enforcement are black or Latino. Black students are 3.5 times more likely to be suspended than white students. Black and Latino students are twice as likely not to graduate high school as whites.
Not good numbers.
68% of all males in state and federal prison do not have a high school diploma. The U.S. has the highest incarceration rate in the world, and its prisons and jails are overwhelmingly filled with African Americans and Latinos. The paths to prison for young American and Latino men are many, but the starting points are often school and foster care.
The starting points.
The starting point. So this child is in the first grade,
And already got a label.
has already had a one-on-one encounter with law enforcement. You know, there were labels. You know, growing up, we would talk about the kids on the short bus. So there were always labels. But now a first grader has had a one-on-one encounter with law enforcement at school.
Well, I was just speaking at your notes because the fact that she has statistics, that means that we're not indifferent or ignorant or unaware of what's happening.
No.
We're aware and we have numbers. You know, that's the latest trend these last 15 years, 10 years, numbers. What do the numbers say?
Yes.
Well, you've got numbers. It's telling you what it says. We've got a problem and we need to do something about it. Where are the numbers, again, on the mega churches, the mega organizations, the funded dollars that are being channeled into organizations that could intervene? We have got to do something about this and do it now. These young people are our tomorrow. And whether we like it or not, I tell people, my husband's mother had a very, very wise phrase. Keep living, live long enough.
Yes.
You're going to find these are the very young people who are going to be taking care of you. And if we don't take care of them now, leading them, role modeling, setting good examples, and helping keep their fathers out of jail, their mothers too, off drugs, give them an education they can chew on. Every child doesn't learn the same. Every child doesn't need a kiss. Some child needs a hug. Every child doesn't need a pencil. There's a child that needs a pen. And you might say, well, what's that got to do with it? I remember meeting a young person due to a mild deformity. It was very challenging for them to write with a traditional pencil without breaking the lead because they naturally press down hard. Well, the same thing with a mechanical pencil, because as you know, a mechanical pencil, the lead breaks so much quickly, more quicker. But an ink pen was perfect because a rollerball pen, not one of those gel pens, a rollerball pen that had quick drying ink allowed them to press firmly without breaking it. Their hand could drag across the ink without smearing it. They could learn. They just need to do their math with the ink pen. And we all know most math teachers back in the day wanted you to do it with a
number 2 pencil.
So we've got to do our part. Parents, we have to do our part. I hope I said that a little bit louder.
Yes.
We have to do our part and ask ourselves, are we going to have our kindergartner going to first grade and being arrested for assault and we're standing before a judge? No. That should be your answer. No. We got to do something.
And as a parent, I just want to, I'm imagining how frightened that child was. And your parents are at work, at school, wherever they happen to be, but they're not there. The grown-ups that you expect to be there for you, to be your advocate, to stand by your side, they're not there. And you're looking at someone, a man or a woman in uniform, you know, with handcuffs and a gun on their side, you know, and that has to be really frightening. So when we look at this school to prison pipeline and we have the data and statistics to back up that this is happening, you know, we teach children to hate school. And I know that some educators are going to be upset with me right now, and that's okay. Please send in the feedback. I will read the positive as well as the negative feedback. But if you are one of these children who are constantly being told, if you are 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 times more likely to be sent to the office, there used to be a zero tolerance policy in the classroom, and I said used to because I think the legislature has changed.
They're trying to get away from that. Suspending kids is not the answer.
Oh, absolutely not.
It's not the answer.
No. And so, again, what are we doing for better classroom management? You know, the Spring Valley incident, did we talk about that on the show?
I think we just briefly touched on it, but yes.
Well, again, that student who was on her cell phone in the classroom, for me, she was failed twice before law enforcement ever walked into the room because there should have been, that teacher should have been trained to manage the situation long enough to finish teaching that lesson. And if need be, once the administrator came in, they should have been trained to manage the situation again, to keep everyone safe and sound, get through the lesson, and handle the student with the appropriate actions. And so law enforcement is not the answer.
No.
You know, prisons build, you determine how many prisons you need in the future based on the failing rate of second grade boys.
Oh my goodness.
That's how they project how many prisons will be needed in the future. And so let me get this straight. You have data to show that if by the second grade, this student doesn't have adequate resources, a positive learning environment, which means a lot of things have to change from how we pay our teachers, because that's a biggie for me. Our teachers are underpaid.
Big time.
Their classroom sizes are too large. So again, there are many issues that need to be fixed. But when we are projecting how many future prison cells we're going to need based on the failing rate of second grade inner city boys of color, that's a problem.
And it should be a problem that we want to address. There are some teachers, I'm sure, some educators, professors, teaching assistants, parents. You're listening to In Bold Print. You're listening to us talk about the fine print, these statistics on these young people who are going from school to prison. You have a voice. Make your voice heard. Attend the PTA. You know, make yourself as much as possible. We understand, I know I do, we understand that you're a working parent, that you're limited on how much you can be directly in the classroom. But remember that teachers there, I hope, because they wanted to educate your child. And you are getting involved, I hope, because you want to be a part of that plan.
Right.
And if the teacher and the parents can work together, and legislature will understand the value of paying our teachers a quality salary,
Yes.
we can make a change. We can turn this thing around.
Absolutely. And people, a lot of people are not aware that prison is private industry. And we talk about so much how much it costs to keep someone in prison, but we never have the conversation about how much that private industry makes off of each inmate that they have in prison. There's a reason. Think about this. If you're projecting future cells, how many prisons you need in the future? In a capitalistic society, there has to be monetary gain.
You know it is. You know it is.
To having those inmates locked up behind bars. And so here in Bold Print, we do want you to examine the fine print. We want you to ask questions and dig deeper, which goes back to what we were talking about. When you read the article,
and
don't watch the special that has, again, the flashing lights, the music behind you. I'll never forget, and I'm going to come back to this, but I watched an article one time, and it was talking about how expensive it is to live in the Bay Area in California. And they were and they had a woman, and she had a small child, pregnant with another child, and the lights were dim. They were talking about her education. I believe she had a master's degree. She made a good living, but because it's so expensive to live there, and you hear my voice, right? It was so expensive to live in the Bay Area that she had nowhere to live except to rent someone's garage.
I remember that.
Do you?
Yes, I do.
But
now that you say that, I do remember
the article was so sweet and gentle and kind, and I'm thinking, what? I mean, here she, again, no mention of where the father or fathers, so again, not assuming either way, no mention of where the father or the fathers of the children were, no mention. She was a Caucasian woman as well. And so again, I'm looking at this story, and they wanted, we should feel really sorry for her. And again, yes, we know that cost of living is an issue, not just in the Bay Area.
In many cities.
Many areas. When we look at gentrification and what's happening across the country, we understand that that's an issue. But start reading articles and not just, because again, if you're just watching, you're going, oh, poor thing. look at that beautiful woman and that baby, and she's got another one coming, and she can only live in the garage, Dee.
And there are moms who are living in their cars, who are living on benches, who are stashing their kids in places they shouldn't be, but it's the safest place they can put them so that they can hustle on the street at night by whatever method, going through trash cans. Maybe it's illicit behavior, but whatever they got to do to keep them fed and try to get them showing up at school looking halfway presentable. It's
Right.
a case that we've got a lot of things happening, and you need to do more than talk about it, more than read about it. You need to know what your purpose is and add some action to it. And you know, Tamoji, our time is almost up, but that's one of the
Really?
things that
Wow.
people have got to recognize. If you see something you don't like and you want it to change, you have to be a part of an active participant lifestyle behavior. You may not physically move the car, but if you know the car needs to be moved before it's towed, you may actually go into a business and just say, is that anybody's blue car out there, red car? They're about to tow it if you want to try go move it. Did you move the car? No, you didn't. But you took some action. You knew that something was required. You had to activate something. Otherwise, nothing was going to change. And you know, we talk about the workshop I've done. Change before you hang.
Yes.
Drop the C, drop the E. That's exactly what we're talking about. You wrote a book called Activation Required. And it's talking about you've got to activate
Yes.
yourself, activate what's within you.
I believe that our purpose was woven into us as we were being formed in our mother's womb. And so I wrote the book, and I do have a copy. I'll show you here. I wrote the book, Dee, because I think that once we reconnect to that purpose, where do we start our show this evening?
We started talking about that very thing, talking about, you know, me and my bad little introduction, but
No, but I mean, when we activate our purpose, great things happen. And it's already in you. I don't think that life is about finding yourself. It's about reconnecting and then bringing into full fruition who you were designed to be. It's about creating yourself. It's about blooming, allowing those gifts, strengths, and talents that you have within you to bloom. And that was my purpose in writing the book. And if you'd like more information about the book, you can go to my website, tamojijackson.com or tamoji.com, to find out just a little bit more information about the book.
now more information actually about Activation Required. And that's just it. I think she's going to give you too much tidbits, but I'm going to tell you this. You can get activated because it's required to connect to In Bold Print. I'm Dee McNair, your co-host, with my co-host,
Tamoji, the empowerment specialist.